Welcome back to Dive Twang. I'm Dave. We are continuing with our short series on the three components that make music, and more specifically, the framework that we use to improvise with our guitar. So, those three things are chords. I was about to say progression. We can call it progression. More simply stated, it's the chords in the song or the jam. Chords, melody, and timing. Okay? So our chords for this lesson are going to be a 12 bar blues pattern in A. Okay? If you're not familiar with that, or you've heard, I keep hearing 12 bar blues, I'm not sure. That's okay. In the outro practice loop that I'll give you at the end of this lesson, I will write the chords out in the first, minute or so of that loop. And you can follow along if you want to learn the chords. And then I'll also give you some diagrams of the scale or note sequences that we're going to use to improvise with today. So, 12 bar blues in A. That's A, D, E. Not exactly in that order, but those are the three chords that are used. Okay. And then we're going to use an A blues scale as our melody framework. So we got our chord set. Component 2, melody, scales, note sequences, the order of notes that we're going to play, the grouping of notes. Now, let me put this slide up here. If you're familiar with A minor pentatonic, any minor pentatonic, in this case A, if we put it on the 5th fret, it's this pattern. Right? Now, let me put this other slide right up here. This, in your mind's eye, picture that A minor pentatonic, right? There's a couple extra notes in there, and I circled them in blue right there. So when you add those in there, it sounds like this. Okay? We call that the blues scale. You don't always have to play those extra notes in there because your A minor pentatonic is going to work perfectly over this blues progression. But some of the stuff in the intro and like couple of the licks I'm going to show you today, they do include that note. So if you're not familiar with that, just play that up and down a few times right now. Maybe even, park the video on that diagram and just, get that under your fingers really good. So let me show you something though. Right off the bat, if you were to just play those blues notes, yikes. Oh boy. What is going on? What is this guy telling us to do? Well, those aren't bad. There's no bad note. Generally speaking, there's a use for that. Maybe if you were making like a horror movie soundtrack or something, where you just want total dissonance or something. But when you just sit on a note, an outside note like that, that's weird, right? But check this out. If you put them in sequence with that A minor pentatonic and you kind of run through there, not necessarily fast, but in certain ways. Now, wait a minute. Is our brain playing tricks on us here? Perhaps. Not sure exactly what's going on there. But when it's going somewhere, it's like our mind is already, music is the way we're processing that in our brain. That really that's like a little experiment of that, right? It's where things are leading to, right? That's kind of the meaning of the next thing that gets played. Sort of like the language of words in a way, and other means of expression. So, with that in mind, when we get to our timing element, so chords, we got our scales now, A minor pentatonic and that A blues scale. We start getting into our timing stuff, um, choices, musical choices. Let's think of that language analogy. I'll show you what I mean. If I'm talking and I pause my words, that pause has meaning, right? Same thing in music. Okay? It's sentences. Okay? That was a little weird, but I guess I came in. I was exaggerating how I was holding things and stuff. But did you catch that? Did you, capture the concept of that? The space in between and how we punctuate our playing is really one of the most important aspects of it. So this three-part program, hopefully what happens is, well, I got the chords, I got my loop going, the band's got the chords, we got the bass, and everything's figured out what chords we're going to use. Oh, we don't have to worry about that, right? We don't have to compose the chords right in the middle of our jam, right? That frees up some brain space, some processing space, right? Then you don't always just use maybe the same scale. You can change, in one song or in one jam, you can try different scale ideas and stuff. But for now, for this lesson, just use those couple of scales and you can kind of switch that on to autopilot too, right? Free up even some more processing speed and space and really focus on that feel and timing and punctuation. And doing some things kind of rapidly and then answering with something slower, just like when we're talking. Here's an example. You can kind of jump in wherever you want. You can hold stuff or you can let go of it. Makes sense. This stuff's so fun. So, chords, melody, scales, for us, usually. Vocal lines and stuff too. But for a guitar lesson, we're talking about, single note playing, soloing, and then timing, right? There's also other dynamics in music, like differences in, how hard and soft things are and quiet and then loud and then building. And so, you listen to a good band or it's kind of jam style music, especially, it goes through all these different, I mean, it's a journey, you know, through a kind of landscape of these different places that you go to. That's kind of how I look at it. That's kind of how I experience music when I'm listening to it, that of that style. And blues is kind of just a nice compact style that puts all that stuff together. You know, just listen to any good blues recording or artist, and I think keep that in mind. Listen to that. Wow, we're now we're over here just really biting it and just just like just slamming it there for a minute, and then the next thing you know, it's just as soft as So some of the greatest players can weave all those dynamics together in one song or even in one solo, which is amazing to me. And when you look at it that way, I think it just helps to kind of make that connection between your brain, your body, and your emotions and your instrument, right? Hopefully that's the case. So let me give you a couple lick ideas here. One is that, and this was demonstrated in the intro pretty succinctly, is this can be done with a bend. I like to bend that one too. Not real far. Sometimes that's a little nicer than just hitting that note. Now, repetition. See what happened? I kind of played the same notes throughout every one of those chords, but just made little nuanced differences. Now I'll start really. Okay? Don't try to copy all the stuff I just played. It wasn't that, strong of playing, but I was just really letting myself go. Just kind of like, I'm just going to play that note 6 times in a row, and I don't know what's going to happen, I listened back to that later, and I'm like, no, don't do that again. Whatever, I mean, what's the harm? There's no harm done, right? Experiment with everything, right? Question all of your boundaries, at some point in your practice each day, but also embrace the boundaries in terms of like, these are the guidelines that I'm using right now, right? You're training yourself by repetition, but when you add that exploration and experimentation into that, man, stuff starts happening really fast, and you'll pick out the things that feel good to you and discard the stuff that didn't work out, right? Let me show you one more lick just to have some fun, and then we'll get you to your practice loop, and you can work these skills out. I'm going to go, I'll demonstrate it, then I'll slow it down. Now, let's slow that down a little bit. Go right down that blues scale, starting from this A up here. It starts on A, ends on an A, an octave down. Use whatever fingers you want. You can, sometimes I'll pull that one off. I'll go, actually slide it, sorry, not pull off. This one sometimes can be a pull off. You write that out in tab, and all of a sudden you're looking at this thing. You got to try to keep track of like 18. Am I doing all this? It's just that sound. It doesn't matter how you get there, really. right? It's just a fun lick to throw in there when you're doing some other more, juicy stuff, kind of more thoughtful stuff. Sometimes you just want to throw a run in there. Here's how I do it. I'll be going. Okay? So there, the lick becomes kind of a thing of its own, right? I've just practiced that, right? I'm not thinking about, playing each one of those notes right there. So it's just something you have in your vocabulary that I'm just going to put that in there, and you've practiced it. Does that make sense? That's kind of what rehearsal does. It's not that you've just memorized everything you're ever going to do, right? And you're just kind of stringing it together. But there are some things that, just like sentences we say where we don't have to think about the words, they're phrases that we've already said many times before, right? So, because what I'm really doing in this, in my version of this jam, is I'm kind of working those middle string stuff. Right? That's kind of how I'm conversing musically right now. Right? You throw that stuff in. It can be like a lead in to what you're going to play too. Okay. Make an entrance, right? Don't just sneak into the room like, hey, I'm here, Just real quick, when I did it down here, it's the same notes as up here. There's your homework. Figure it out down here. So, got our chords. Got that blues scale. Sometimes we use that blues note. Sometimes we don't. A minor pentatonic. And then just really veg out and get into that space where you're talking and you're kind of talking back and forth with your licks to one another. And then, just do some of that other stuff. It's just the push-ups and sit-ups. Just right. It's so fun when you learn a lick. If you like that one, I already know what you're going to do. You're going to wear that sucker out, and that's what you're supposed to do. Because like I said, you want that in your vocabulary. 6 months from now, you're not thinking about that lick. You're just doing it when you need a run in your solo, right? Thank you so much. It is such an honor to be, for you to spend your time with me, working on something as wonderful as your music in your life. I just really, really appreciate it. And yeah, we'll see you next time. Thank you.